What's up, EKN Nation? Rob Howden here alongside David Cole for another primetime edition of our eCardingNews.com face-to-face show here on both YouTube and Facebook Live. David and I, we're going East Coast, we've gone West Coast. We're staying with West Coast, actually, because we had a good chat with the folks from the Northwest Karting Association a couple of weeks ago, and they've had a couple of really big events. In fact, one this past weekend, again, they had almost 200 entries. So really things are strong up in the Pacific Northwest. And David, that kind of plays into what we're talking about today, because joining us on the show that we'll bring in momentarily from the California ROK Challenge, which could almost be the West Coast ROK Challenge Championship, rather, Andy Seesemann is going to join us. And yeah, there are a lot of good stuff happening on the West Coast right now. Not everywhere.
Yeah, well, again, it just, this winter we had a great Challenge of the Americas program. Again, we had solid numbers, for all three events, had great racing all around. And, again, it just bodes to, California, there's 12 months out of the year and they're racing 12 months out of the year. So again, it's not like where we are in the Midwest where we're itching and craving to go racing, where everybody you can go to the racetrack any day of the week. In SoCal. So it's a little different dynamics. And again, obviously different era that we're in right now. There's just this big surge going on the eastern half of the country. I mean, even central part of the United States is doing well. But as you said, Pacific Northwest, it's always been kind of a good, there's a lot of good racers in that area. There's been a lot of industry members up in that area. And again, it's just, it's been quietly growing, I think, the number of racers, and maybe it's a little bit of, with the Northwest Karting Association, maybe a little bit of gathering of the people again, getting everybody back together.
Well, first and foremost, one of the big issues, if you just look at the Pacific Northwest versus Southern California, it's just the number of tracks, right? The bottom line is tracks and clubs. Pacific Northwest, 5, 6, 7 clubs that are vibrant, whether it's in Oregon or Washington or up into British Columbia, right? Even with the guys up at Chilliwack, and a lot of stuff happening up there as well. Where Southern California's just got that one racetrack right now that people are really running at in terms of club wise, and that's Cal Speed. There is some racing at Adams, but nothing going on at Willow. There's no real club at Button Willow either, and that's a big issue, David, to not have that. When you have a regional series, you don't have clubs to feed the regional series. That's obviously an issue we've seen before.
Yeah, we have. That's the hard part. Again, it's getting people to the racetrack. Oregon.
I know. I was going to say Oregon. Yeah, it's like David saying idly.
Is hilarious. It is idly. Yeah, I like to say Oregon. But yeah, it's just, again, no matter what, we always have the ebbs and flows of our sport, and this is one of them. Again, like I said, we've never seen the numbers like we've had on the eastern half of the country right now. Massive. And again, but there's still a lot of West Coast racers who are racing, and they're coming east. And so I think a lot of, that has a little bit to do with that. But like you said, there's not that base like what we have here in the Midwest, what we have along the East Coast, where there's a lot of these clubs that are growing and growing and growing.
Well, and so one of the big things we've seen, and we've been lucky to be able to be part of Andy's Challenge of the Americas program for a decade now, being out to all those events, puts on a great series. You'll hear us talk about it year in and year out. We love being part of the program. Everybody that goes there loves being there. And there was a pretty kind of good run up of numbers. Then, of course, COVID happened and kind of softened things up a bit, but still great numbers this year, as we talked about. It is a fun series. And was it a couple years ago, the industry members in the area that support Andy's program said, hey, listen, we love the ROK program, and we're here on the West Coast. We got to do more. We need a summer series. Put a summer series together for us. I don't think the support came as he thought it was going to come, but it's been growing. They've been fine-tuning it. And last year, David, one of the big things, this will be one of the things we'll talk about throughout this edition of Face to Face, was they put out a survey and said, what's a track on the West Coast that you guys would love to do that we haven't done before? What's a bucket list track for you that we could add to the California ROK Championship? And an overwhelming majority said, let's go to Pat's Acres. Let's go up to Oregon, to Canby. And man, that was big. So they're going back this year, and we're going this year as well. Andy, of course, wants to solidify this part of his program. And man, I'm excited. You've never been to Pat's before. I love the place, man. I went back there in 1998, I believe, 1999 with the first edition of the SCUSA Pro Moto Tour.
You mean
Love
when
the
Nick
place.
Tucker was a junior?
when Nick Tucker won 80cc junior on a Mike Wilson chassis. Exactly that. Yeah, indeed. And I love the Egger family. Looking forward to doing that. That's what we're going to, we'll talk about. We'll bring Andy on here in a moment. We're going to talk about ROK Cup and the ROK program on the West Coast and how it's kind of developing, what's happening. We'll talk, of course, about the event at Pat's Acres, and we'll talk a little bit more about FTK Promotions and a bit of a move there as well. Let's bring him on.
All right, here we go.
Dave and I can only talk so much together, Andy. We do it all day long, so we figured we'd bring you in as a buffer right now. Thanks for joining us, man.
No problem. Thank you. It was amazing listening to you for the past 6 minutes and 22 seconds.
Wow.
I last a long time.
It's called setting it up. It's called
well, that's not what I hear, but anyway.
Oh, wow. Okay. Where do you want to start? Do we start with where you are right now? Do we start with FTK Promotions making a move, or do you want to start with ROK, chatting a bit about the ROK Cup on the West Coast right now?
Where I'm at right now is my home for about the next 3.5 weeks. My house in Fullerton here. That's
you're still home. There you go.
We're still in Fullerton. There's a place we rented for the past year. I mean, you know the story, not that people need to care about my personal situation, but we sold the house in Fullerton. We rented a house right next to the high school so Grace could finish out her last year. Bought a place in Idaho. So I spend about a week up there each month coming back and forth. But this is the home stretch, the last three weeks before we make the final move.
Well, it's really kind of a part of what you do, all told, right? People know you as a promoter. Many know that you had the FTK full throttle karting shop in Orange, that you actually sold a lot of karts, had a lot of customers out of that place. But not only are you the promoter for the Challenge of the Americas and the California ROK Championship, but you work very closely with ROK Cup USA as really the West Coast distributor for the product line, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, our program has transitioned, over the past several years from, like I said, 100% retail based program to, you go back to 2005 doing the Gators thing, and then 2008 starting Challenge, and then, the ebb and flow with Rotax, and the 2008. The big trough we hit there, and then the end of Rotax, and then the signing with ROK. And really, once we signed the deal with ROK to sell the tires and the engines and the parts to distribute on the West Coast, to save all the dealers on shipping, from a time standpoint and from a money standpoint.
Yeah.
Our business really transformed itself from being I don't like the word transition nowadays. It's a little too political, but
shifted.
Pivot. You pivoted.
Pivot.
You shifted.
Pivot. It pivoted from that retail business to really a wholesaler, and that's what we do now every day. I mean, Eric and I are shipping stuff every day, and then putting on our our races each year. So that's where we're at now.
Let's talk about the California ROK Championship first, and the run up to Pat's, and then we'll talk overall. You can kind of give us your feel on the ROK program on the West Coast. I know you're excited to get back up to Pat's Acres. A lot of people I've talked to, for the first half of the year, are super jacked about it, right? Guys we had at the Challenge, other guys we just talked about how excited they are. Something different, but they get up to Pat's, legendary track, just a different atmosphere. It's a challenging racetrack as well. But let's just talk, for you logistically and how you want to grow the program. How excited are you to get back up to Pat's? You had good numbers last year.
Yeah, I mean, it was a reasonable start. I mean, we had, I think, in the 70s last year, which was just good enough to make it exciting to come, to go back. And then literally at that same time is when I decided to make my transition, to Idaho, which I'm sure we'll touch on in a second. But yeah, I mean, there's a great program like you guys talked about, right? There's a lot of great clubs up there. There's a great regional program up there, and I'm not going up there to upset the apple cart in any way. I just know that. You touched on it for a second, Rob, right? We have to support these tracks. We need these tracks, right? And if we ignore these long time tracks, they're going to go away. And,
Agreed.
I think that's fundamentally what you talk about, the strength of the East Coast right now. They go to some great tracks. They go to Homestead. They go to GoPro, right? Road America, Newcastle. In the past, it was Pit Race. It was, whether it was Gary's track at MRP, right? I mean, now with Cincinnati really, putting a lot of money into their program, right? That you're going to see that track, really step up on the stage.
Agreed.
And it's like, if we don't support these places, they're going to go away. And you're seeing it in Southern California where there hasn't been a new track put on. Speed was put on the map in 03, 04, right? And there's a lot of areas of the country where there's a lot of new tracks. but there's still a lot of great old ones we need to go to and we need to support. And I was really excited when Chris, allowed me to come up there last year, and I'm fired up to go back. I really love that place, like you said, and I can't wait to go.
Hey, listen, you see what's happening right now. There are racetracks in Southern California. There's just nobody going there anymore. I look back to 10 years ago when there was the parking lot track in San Diego at Qualcomm Stadium, right? There was a small club there. There was a small club in Paris. There was a small club at Willow. When it starts to go away and people stop supporting those tracks, whether it be with a regional series or whatever it may be, it's obviously it's damaging. Now, interesting about you being up there in Idaho as well. And we'll talk about you bringing the California Rock Championship up there, but one of the things about the Pacific Northwest is it's not really a single engine dominated region. Right. It's more of a tag region, right? So it's like you said, you're not there trying to upset the apple cart. Really, Italian Motors is there with their X125. IAME is up there. Rotek's up there. You're really just going to be honest, probably bring an extra level of support for the Rock program for those who want to run the Rock engine within their tag, their tag class itself. Yeah,
obviously. I mean, we roll up to the track and we have 150,000 hours of the Rock parts and engines in the trailer and tires and everything else. So, obviously, karting is at a different spot. Nobody stocks anything in their trailer anymore. We've had this discussion 100,000 times. So yeah, I mean, I'll bring a little bit of different aspect. I'll probably go to the track more than I have in the past couple of years. Like I said, with the transition of being a wholesaler, I've kind of backed away from going to the track. So now probably I'll get involved a little bit more than that. Go to Tri-Cities or go to Sumas or go to obviously Kart Idaho and a few other places. So I mean that'll be a different transition again, but I mean that's just the evolution of how life is going to be for me.
For those who don't know about the California Rock Championship going up to Pat's Acres, how'd that start? I kind of briefly talked about you doing the survey. Give us a little more insight on that so people can understand that, man, this is something you just didn't go, hey, we're going to go north. We're going to drive up to Pat's Acres. Where did it actually happen? I know you've told us more. I touched briefly on it. I want to hear from you.
Well, like you said, a couple of years ago, it was the fall of 20. It was during COVID. Right. Sean and I sat down and said, hey, let's see what everybody wants, right? So we put out a survey, and the goods and bads of the survey is, right, people have their opinions, but people don't have to back up any opinion with any kind of real effort, right? So, obviously Pat's was at the top of the list, and let's go to Buttonwillow, let's do this, let's do that, and we just kind of laid it all out and said, where do you want to go? How do you want the format to be? What do you want? And it was a mixed bag. And in the last couple of years, I've kind of tweaked and pushed the program, but Pat's was overwhelming, was kind of the shining star where people wanted to be. This year, I said, well, let's try the challenge format, for as far as the double weekends go, right? Because in the past, the first year I did it, CRC was simply just a one race day format, and then then we did a couple combined events with Rock Sonoma, and then we did, we've kind of tweaked. So I said, well, this year we're going to try the whole COTA format, and then, man, whatever's going on in Southern California is going on. I mean, it just, it didn't work down here. Let's just say. Yeah. So I'm focusing on Pat's and then on the future, and we'll go from there and see what happens. But I think it's going to be great. I mean, there's obviously, there's a pretty good team that calls that track their home base. I don't know. I mean, you see them with their purple sticker kits about every other press release you guys write about a race somewhere. So I mean, Rollison said he's going to bring close to 20 guys, and a lot of people want to race them, right? I mean, that's let's be honest. They're I don't mean to poke fun at him, really, but I mean they're the Penske or Ganassi of our sport right now, right? I mean they're at the top of the heap, and so you want to race those guys? Here's your chance. Go race those guys.
Not to mention on the shifter side, you got GFC that'll be bringing their contingent up there as well too. So
especially with the Track Magic group. I mean, that's sorry to interrupt, David, but you have Jason LaPointe really being a big point man behind the Track Magic group, and Gary says there's they're kind of making a push towards that. So we should see a very good group of those guys as well.
Yeah, Jason LaPointe ran back in 1999 at the SCUSA Pro Moto Tour. I wonder if we get Jason LaPointe out to run Masters.
Oh my goodness. The problem is the races are probably are going to be longer than 4 laps, and that's what happens as we get older. I mean, those 20 laps.
That was qualifying back then.
Yeah, exactly. Pat's is the first place I ever met Gary Carlton. He was working on the back of a van with his old man. It was awesome.
There you go.
We pause our face-to-face broadcast for this quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more here on the EKN Radio Network. Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer to winning in karting. At the helm is industry veteran Greg Bell, who has orchestrated the success of many drivers dating back to the mid-1990s. Based in Lodi, California, Leading Edge Motorsports is the Western importer with IP karting that includes the Praga and Formula K chassis brands. Leading Edge Motorsports provides in-depth driver development for those racers in Northern California and across the country. Arrive and drive services, kart preparation, and driver coaching are available under the LEM tent throughout the season. Bell's record of working with drivers includes recent victories at North America's biggest karting events, including the ROK the Rio and the SCUSA Super Nationals. Greg Bell's knowledge for building engines spans 2 decades and is now under the Mega Power branding, providing a reliable engine service and tuning knowledge. No matter the chassis brand, choose Mega Power to get to the front. Click over to leadingedgemotorsports.com for more and find them on social media to stay connected. At Leading Edge Motorsports, winning never gets old.
History, success, family. Those are the 3 words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation is located just outside of Indianapolis, and they have provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers throughout their near 6 decades of business. Comet's online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. Comet Kart Sales attends dozens of karting events every year, offering trackside service for racers and families. Karting veterans Mark Dismore Jr. and Gary Lawson provide one-on-one driver coaching and tuning assistance for each trackside customer. The engine building business, Comet Racing Engines, has won countless major events and championships over decades of karting, and they continue to offer the best trackside service in the industry. Make sure you head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be a part of the Comet Kart Sales family today.
Welcome back to Face2Face on the EKN Radio Network. Question Jim Kidd says, I can't wait to get back to Pat's. I'll probably get my butt kicked, but man, what a venue. That's 100% real.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy came last year with Rob from Illuminos, and they, I think they rented a house together, like a little group of them, and they had a great time. That Jimmy and Cassie made their way up the coast, and they came and raced, and Jimmy had never been up there, and he wanted to come, and he said he had a great time, and he says, if I do one race next year, he told me this last year, I'm doing Pat's again. I was like,
that's
okay.
awesome.
And that's why I do this. That's why I want this to happen again.
It almost kind of reminds me of what USBKS did with Road America. Like, a lot of people had never been to Road America before, and you get a lot of these Texas drivers, Florida drivers, and even a lot of West Coast drivers that came up, and they're like, this place is amazing. It has trees, it has grass.
Weird, right?
You can go camping and not have to worry about, dust and all this other crap that goes on, in certain racetracks that we do go to. But it's just, it kind of reminds me of that, where Pat's it's a very, probably no other racetrack like it in terms of what surrounds it. I mean, it has a river going alongside of it. It's surrounded by trees. You can camp there, and
alongside of it, the river goes
on it
80% of it, and then on it in the wintertime.
Yeah,
we're still waiting for you guys to hook up that motorhome you were going to rent. Rob, you still working on that? Or?
Yeah, I still got to work on it. I'll figure it out. It'll be this week. We'll get her dialed in. We're gonna go camping. That's one thing too, folks. If you want, we're gonna be camping at the track. There's gonna be some after racing after party, I think.
What for the drivers that were there last year, what was kind of like the one thing that you continue to hear from them that when they talked about not just the facility but the racetrack itself?
There's no time to rest at Pat's. I mean, it is not the current super speedway tracks that are being built. And, like I said, I'm not poking fun. I'm not the Newcastles, the Nolas, the Millers with the 1,000-foot straightaway where you can kind of chill and, kind of stretch out. Like even the straightaway at Pats, which is like 700, 800 feet long, it has a bend in it, right? Like you don't stop turning the steering wheel. There's no time to rest. So I don't mean to scare people off by saying you better be fit, but that's the point. Like you're driving. I mean, and there's trees and grass, and you have never stopped driving this track. There is no time to rest.
I love it. I love that track. 100% love it. What else you got here? Here's a question from Mike Smith, Andy, asking about, he says, is Pat's a one-off or is it still a 2-weekend program? Now, obviously, that's a good question because obviously the cancellation of Cal Speed because of all the issues in Southern California. Are you going to do is essentially it will be 4 races then for the championship with the finale at Sonoma?
So at this point, and this is where you may hear Mike actually scream through the computer when I say this. I'm going to take all the championship prizes and work on other ones, but at Pat's, it's points from Pat's are going to earn the prizes, are going to earn the tickets to ROK Vegas. Okay. So basically, I'll work on stuff for Sonoma, but Pat's will basically be a one-off, its own 2-race championship, and Sonoma will basically function as the same.
Oh, I like
that. So,
right. Lots on the line.
We have the prizes from Rock Cup USA. We have some sponsorship, so I'm gonna just take. Unfortunately, with the cancellation at Cal Speed, it is what it is. But we're just gonna take those prizes and push them to Pat's, and then I'll work on Sonoma. But so that's great for especially the people in the Pacific Northwest, right? The folks at Tri-Cities or Sumas, obviously McMinnville, Cart Idaho. I mean, they can come race there, and they don't. If they want to try to win a ticket to ROK Vegas, all they have to do is show up to that race, and then we'll be handing out those tickets there.
So, Andy, another question came from Mike. I won't bring it up, but he's asking weekend format. Is it going to be challenge format?
Yeah.
But challenge for the tickets, points together, right?
Points together. It's just a two.
Well, it's a 2-round championship.
I wasn't asking you, Cole. I was asking Andy. That's why he's here.
You know what? It's a good question. Maybe I'll work on it. You know what? I haven't announced it yet. maybe I'll do heat race
magic.
You guys can match 2 sets of tires. I don't know. We'll see. I'll make that announcement next week.
All right, there you go. I like it. That's good. What else? Anything else you want to talk about? By the way, how about the date? June the 24th, 25th, 26th, right? So just about a month away.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we're 5 weeks away. I think I don't know, whatever it is. It comes up quick, especially with my move. I mean, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, and like you said, it fits pretty good on the schedule because SCUSA will be 2 weeks before that. I think they have the regional race in the area the week before that, so there's still time for local racers to be part of it. There's plenty of time for national racers to be part of it as well too.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely. I mean that was the point, right? When I looked at the schedule, it's been hard. It's been a tough year for scheduling, and the tougher thing on scheduling has been $7 a gallon gas in California. I mean it's. We watch what's going on with the clubs and the organizations. I mean, stuff that used to be strong is not right now, and it's simply. I think it's just the economy, and that $7 a gallon gas, and which you see. I mean, California diesel. I can't find diesel for less than $6.50 anywhere. So, and it's $7 some places. So it's just crazy, right? But it is in a little dead spot. It's a couple weeks before USPCAS, a couple weeks after Utah. So I mean, it's literally. Like an 8-hour shot, right? I mean, probably a little longer than 8 hours. Okay, we'll say like a 12-hour shot from Miller, Utah Motorsports Complex, to Pat's, right? So if people want to go there, dump their stuff, and Chris lets you park your stuff there. So if you have a hauler and you just want to leave it on the West Coast, you can park it over there for a couple weeks, and then come race. So, and I know a couple of teams are doing that. It just works out well with how they have things going on. But yeah, it's a little bit of a dead spot, but that's fine. That's the point.
Yeah.
And again, I think I like the fact that the placement there for everything that's going on up in the Pacific Northwest. We already mentioned how strong the Northwest Karting Association is, and I haven't had a chance to kind of look at the breakdown though. Have you talked to the people at the clubs, tracks? This kind of segues a little bit in, Andy, to the strength of ROK on the West Coast. What's ROK participation look like in those tag categories? Do you know?
The 100cc for sure is strong. Obviously in the West, we've had this discussion, right? On the East Coast, the 125 tag is still super strong. But on the West Coast and Pacific Northwest is a little different. They still have a good mixed 125 tag. But south of the Oregon border, the 125 tag is dormant here. It's crazy. I don't know how it happened. I don't know what happened, but it happened. And you know how that goes. Once it goes, it goes. Like everybody just went 100cc racing and that's it. ROK, the benefit of the ROK in the 100cc, let's be honest, it's $700 cheaper than the KA, right? So the KA had a 3-year head start with the ROK, so there are more of them penetrated in the market. But for the average person and engines are very, very, very close, $700, that's 3 sets of tires. That's 2 months worth of race budget for a club racer, right? So, or it's a blueprint. Right, I mean, you can get a ROK and send it to P1 or Manning or Sweet Tech or any of your guys, and for the $700, pretty much get a blueprint, which is what an out of the box KA would cost you. So, money's money, especially like right now for sure. Right.
Right.
Aside from that, I mean, obviously, the Pacific Northwest is still big in LO206, so it's they have a big mixed bag. I mean, the ROK shifter is still super strong. It's still, the best right now on the market, the best engine as far as shifter carts is going right now, right? It's basically taking the place of the Honda, as solid as the Honda was for so long, right? I mean, there's other stuff coming and going, but really the ROK shifter is still the number one option. So
is it more stable?
It's more stable. It's been around for 8 years.
Yeah.
It's a solid format, and they're all very, very close. I mean, you don't need to spend $1 billion with a builder to get it to be competitive. So, I mean, it's a great product. Yeah,
I think the engine output plays well for the Masters guys too. I think more than maybe even a KZ or one of the other power plants. It's not that it's a little softer, I think, to a certain extent, right? The ROK shifter compared to just
it's not quite as violent. It's not quite as violent as a KZ or the 175 or whatever else is out there, right? And even the stock Honda that was so torquey, right?
Yeah, you mentioned the 206, and Mike Smith dropped this out here because I was just thinking about this. This is gonna be a party, right? We're all coming up. E-Car News is gonna be there. We're gonna be covering the whole thing. 206 at CRC Pats. Might have to do 2 classes. And any thought? Listen, there's, like you said, there are a ton of 206 racers up in the Pacific Northwest that run the club levels, whether they run at Tacoma or, like you said, Tri-City or
PGP.
PGP, 100%. They'll get 20 plus at PGP, right?
You down with PGP?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know me.
That's a great track, by the way. Paul Zalud, of course, a former industry member, big time with us. Any thoughts on maybe adding a fun 206 class on the weekend?
I don't like to add any fun classes. Karting's not supposed to be fun, Rob.
I've driven a I've driven a shifter at Pat's when I was quite a bit younger, 20 years ago. I bet that track would be
that's where you drove. That's where you drove Scott's speed shifter, wasn't it?
I drove Scott's speed shifter there. Yeah, indeed, I did. The Tony car.
Yeah.
I actually drove the year before, 2 years before. I drove his MBA there as well.
Okay.
With KLS, but yes, I drove Speed's Sweet Tech Hemi there. It was a lot of fun. But I can imagine that track would be awesome in a 206.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's probably perfect, right? I mean, it was designed. It was designed a little bit earlier. I mean, that's. They made the little addition to it, I don't know how many years ago, 10 years ago, obviously. I mean, if you remember, Pat's was a whole loop shorter, right? I mean, if you think about Pat's, it's almost like a hand. It's like a hand with like 3 fingers, right? So you had like the straightaway, and then you had a loop, and then back down the straightaway, right?
And in
the past, it only had 2 loops.
And what Chris Egger calls turn 1.
Yeah, which is, I don't know how many. Yeah. You just keep turning. You
turn the back. Yeah.
I mean, turn 1 is like 100 and the like a 240-degree turn almost.
It is.
Right?
It's like a keyhole. Yeah.
Keep turning.
So answer the question. Are we doing 206 maybe? Think about it.
Oh, you're putting me on that. Hold on. Let me have 3 or 7 more of these, and we'll figure it out. You know
well,
what?
It could be like a special class where you like run it at the end of the day each day, you know, or something like that.
Look,
For mechanics.
You want 206? Give me money.
Come on.
I mean,
If I recall, entry's open, right? Entry's open right
and
now.
I say this in the least rude way possible. Money talks, right? 20 people call me and print out a one of our paper entry forms and scratch off Rock Shifter and write in LO206 and put their credit card. I'll have 20 guys with an LO206. What do you want me to tell you? I mean, that's
if you pay for it, it will come.
That's the rule. I mean, people don't like to talk about it, right? I mean, let's just say it's a big voodoo topic that, oh my God, promoters are supposed to make money at this, right? I mean, you guys deal with this every week at different races. Everybody's supposed to be a volunteer. This is how we earn our living.
That's it.
Right? Yeah. So the bottom line is, why did Cal Speed get canceled? Not enough people were willing to spend money. So how do we get an LO206 class at Pat's Acres? Spend money.
Yeah, commit for it. Just a thought. That's just thought. I like the idea of throwing it out there. Just an idea, right?
Hey, Chris Worley. Hey, race. I mean, let's go. What do you got? What do you got for me?
There you go. Well, we'll throw it out there. We'll drop a little note on social media tomorrow. Were you printing out your entry fee already?
Scratch it out. You know how many go-karts the Eggers have there, David?
That's true.
You muted yourself.
We can't hear you, Dave. Can't hear you.
I'm sure I could finagle one of them.
That's the best you've sounded all day long.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I had to shut it off so the printer was running. I didn't want you to hear that.
There you go.
I got you.
So away from the event itself, again, June 24, 25, 26, California Rock Championship, going up to Pat's Acres, one-off event, as Andy has told us. Now, all the prizes are going to be packed on there to go to Rock Vegas, the whole deal. Let's widen the scope a little bit and talk about Rock on the West Coast. Can you kind of give us a rundown up and down the West Coast, SoCal, NorCal, Pacific Northwest, and maybe other areas, Arizona, whatever it may be? What's Rock looking like right now?
I mean, for sure we have pockets, right? I mean, obviously our strongest, soul club program is Rock Sonoma. You also have Rock the Rockies, which is kind of building a little bit of momentum. You have the UMC program at Miller, UMC.
Yep.
That is there. There's, and PKRA has a few rocks. They have some shifters. They have some hundreds. Whatchamacallit? Tri-C has some shifters that come race their program, and some hundreds are sprinkled in. And then this year, KPX added the 100 to their program. They used to be a Miami only program. Now they're Rock, mixed. So, you see, like we talked about, right? I mean, those engines, and I'll never badmouth the competitor. The Miami and the Rock are so close as far as the 100cc. I mean, the performance is so close. But, basically when you have the importer selling to themselves here in the United States, Rock has a price advantage. It has a $700 price advantage. So for a lot of folks, as we talked about, that's a great benefit. So we just work on these pockets of the country where they're willing to allow a second or a third engine into their program. Obviously when you get to the USPKS, CUSA, Rock, Challenge of the Americas, Rock Cup USA, those are all single engine or have been, primarily single engine program. But in these club programs, they should allow all these engines that are all so close. I mean,
agreed.
Let's be fair. The difference between the first place driver and the 10th place driver is far greater than the difference between a KA and a Rock on the dyno. Well, I mean, come on, give me a break, right? So there's a lot of these pockets where we're getting some penetration, and it's slowly building, and that's fine. That's part of the process. And Garrett and I both recognize that it's the effort and the support we bring, and as well as the price advantage that really helps out a lot of folks.
I was just going to say that it kind of boils down to effort when you're dealing with multiple engine formats, because if people don't, if the promoters or clubs or whoever don't want to deal with it, they just don't.
Right.
But if they have enough customers saying, hey, look, this is the option we want to go with, do you think as a distributor, do you think you have a little bit of influence talking with clubs and showing them, hey, it's not much work. You just have to, you kind of have to go with what's working right now and like wait, because really it boils down to kind of wait. Am I correct in that, especially with the 100cc?
Yeah, I mean, people don't, like inertia is a thing. People don't want to upset the apple cart, right? So if a club has a really good KA program, like the last thing they want to do is screw it up, right? They don't want it, right? So all we can do is come in and say, look, we do have these XYZ advantages. It's not going to screw up your program. Look, if the ROK was a second faster, the clubs have a reason to throw their arms up and goes, no way, right? But they're so close. They're so close, right? Yeah. So there's no reason for the clubs, and that's always my point, is there's no reason for you not to allow this engine in your program. It doesn't take any more effort to tech it. It doesn't, right? So just they run the same carburetor, the same ignition, the same. It's literally so.
And like you just said, it's good for clubs to have people. Period. I mean, that's what you're there for as a club, is to welcome people. No matter what you have, whether it's the outdated vintage stuff, come race. Again, just come race. We'll find that. That's always, when I was working with a club, it's always like, we'll find a place for you to run.
I mean, that's the club's responsibility is that, I mean, that's the on-ramp to our sport, right? They have to have that big arms open thing. And unfortunately, for what it's worth, the way the culture has changed in our sport, right? Yeah. Big team tents aren't welcoming, right? So, and, single engine programs at the smallest of clubs aren't welcoming. You just got to be able to give a guy or gal, the ability who bought a $3,000 used cart on Craigslist to bring it and find them a place, right? Yeah. Because if they fall in love with the sport, they'll sell the $3,000 used go-kart and go to the team or the shop or whatever and spend whatever it costs to get the thing that's competitive or proper. But you have to get them to fall in love first. Yeah. Right. You got a
courting period.
There's a courting period.
We say it all the time, right? Remove the barrier of entry.
You have to. Right. They have to, right? And look, it is what it is. There are sponsorship deals that come from the manufacturers, whether it's the engines or the tires or the insurance companies. Look, there's always sponsorship deals with all of us, right? And those of us that do the sponsoring expect return on our investment, but at some point there has to be some give and take. There has to be a little bit of balance to that.
Yeah. We pause our face-to-face broadcast for this quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more here on the EKN Radio Network.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the US, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. From the legendary Tony Kart brand to the race-winning Cosmic and Esprit chassis, and now the new Red Speed and EOS brands, OTK quality is second to none. All 5 brands are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the ROK Cup USA Florida Winter Tour and the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and Winter Series, and the Pro Kart Challenge, the United States Pro Kart Series, and the WKA Manufacturers Cup. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. To learn more about a specific product line, you can find the OTK USA dealer near you, whether it's Tony Kart, Cosmic, Esprit, Red Speed, or EOS. Visit www.otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. Welcome back to Face2Face on the EKN Radio Network.
And I think we've done that in a great. I mean, look at Sonoma, right? Sonoma allows the IAME product, right? I mean, that's a ROK supported program, a ROK sponsored program that allows IAME, and unfortunately, you don't see that some other places the other way. But that's a discussion for another day.
Do you want to touch on the finale for the CRC? You want to touch on Sonoma at all? At least give the weekend out there. And...
yeah, I mean that's going to be at the end of August. That's going to be the 26th through 28th, I think it is.
26th through 28th.
You know, I'd rather talk about my move to Idaho because that's what I'm excited about. To be fair,
let's talk about it. Then you're going to Idaho, packing up the truck, moving north.
Moved to Beverly. I didn't find oil on my property. That's the part that bums me out. But there's a big garden.
It will be the base for FTK, right? For the full throttle karting and essentially your distribution base. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, after living in Southern California for 35 years and running, FTK for 20, not to piss too many political people off, but it's time to leave California. And with Trev, our son up at Montana, stayed up in Bozeman, and he basically said he's never coming back, even if he could afford it to live here, right? I mean, he's like, I love it up here, whether I live in Idaho or Utah or Wyoming or Montana, I'm never coming back. And Grace decided, our daughter, who's graduating here in a week or a week and a half, she's going to go to school in Washington, and once she goes up there, she's going to fall in love with that place. So it's
very true.
It's time for us to just move. I mean, she's going to Bellingham, right? She's going to Western up in Bellingham. You know where that is, Rob. Mm-hmm. So 20 minutes from she'll actually be closer to Claudio than me. So I better. That's kind of scary, but I have to get a hold of Claudio and say, hey man, if my daughter screws up, I'm probably going to need you to come check on her. but yeah. So I mean, look, you don't want to follow your kids around the planet, but it's time. And Kathy and I've been talking about going somewhere different for a long time, and this worked out perfectly. So we found a home with a shop on it, some property, and we're just gonna do this. Like I said, I'm a distributor, I'm a wholesaler at this point. I'm a race promoter. I don't need the big retail presence. And if people want to come to the house, people can come to the house. I'm not worried about it. So it works for us at this stage in our life. I mean, we're in our 50s. Kathy's 36. Don't anybody
of course. I know you married young.
Exactly, super young. But so it's perfect. And I'm excited, man. I mean, it's going to be the next step in our lives, and it's going to be a fun time. And there's, like I said, there's a great community up there. It's not going to be 45 minutes like it is to Cal Speed. I mean, it's only 20 minutes to Kart Idaho, but then the next track is 4 hours away.
I was going to say Kart Idaho has no idea what it's about to get hit with.
They have no clue. They have no clue, right?
Well, hold on. They have to deal with Doug Fleming and you?
And James O'Brien.
Oh, my goodness.
Right?
CKR USA.
Right? So
that's a trio. That's like the Three Amigos.
Or is that the Macarena? I can't remember.
One of the other.
So, but no, I mean, what's funny is a sideline, right? Somebody I was talking to, this is like a few months ago, and a team owner who will remain unnamed, said, well, how are you going to do what you do? And I said, what do you mean, how am I going to do what I do? I'm going to do what I do every day. We ship stuff, and then we drive 12 hours to go to a race, and we were there for a week. And like, how is it? Well, no, but you're not going to be there. You're in Southern California. I'm like, no, I'm not going to be there because you don't want to stock a piston. Like, you're going to have to actually order stuff, right? I said, you live 20 minutes, or you live an hour from another guy in the sport, and you literally both drive 3,000 miles to go to races, right? But you don't carpool. So what's the difference whether I live here or you live there? I mean, as we talked about, the quote unquote one of the biggest teams in the country lives in the Pacific Northwest and spends the whole winter in Florida and the rest of the year on the East Coast. Doesn't matter where you live anymore. Look at you guys, right? It doesn't matter where you live.
Yeah. So, for me, you bring that up because it's always been, and it's always blown my mind that somebody can be a dealer for a product and not bring any product to the racetrack.
Yeah, right. It's weird, right? What are you going to do? How could you not do that? I don't know. One of the biggest engine builders in the country, a couple of the biggest engine builders in the country, Comet and Vulture, don't live within 1,000 miles of their biggest importer that they buy from. Yet somehow they manage. Somehow they manage.
Very true. So, all right. So you're up in Idaho. Gonna be doing a little more stuff up in the Pacific Northwest, and all in all, kind of Pats will kind of be that. I guess kind of that first run there, right?
Oh, Rob.
So maybe
Rob,
now
locked up on me.
Yeah,
Oh, all right.
Yeah, a little bit. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that Pacific Northwest obviously going to be in kind of a new area for you, Andy. You're going to be a lot closer. So really, it'll kind of be like an intro party again, coming back into Pats again.
Yeah, I mean that's the point, right? We're going to come to Pats and introduce ourselves again to a new community. Hopefully Michael Valiente, Claudio, and those guys come down. Remo, they came down and supported our challenge a few times, obviously. So hopefully they'll come down with some guys, Chris Worley and the guys from from Midnight Motors. Hopefully they come down. Obviously, Don Hombo has been a great supporter up there. I mean, there's plenty of good shops and teams up there. That obviously there's a good community up there. So come down to Pat's, try out our program, see what we're about. Like I said, I'm going to get involved in your local area. I don't want to mess anything up. I just want to come and check it out and see what I can add to it. I think after my 30 plus years in the sport and 20 plus years as an industry member, I think I can add something to it if you welcome me. And but otherwise, the last bit of what I wanted to say was it's going to change nothing I do in the wintertime. Like my challenge is still my challenge, right? People have asked me, oh, how's it going to affect challenge? I don't know. I'll see you in Arizona in the winter. Like, what do you want me to tell you? like I'm not going to just hide because there's snow on the ground in Boise. I'm going to get in the truck and trailer and I'm going to drive down to Arizona. We're going to put some races on in Southern California and Arizona and Sonoma like we always do. Yeah. In fact, I already asked for a couple dates from tracks just this week. Well, last week. It's only Monday. So I'm already working on dates and track locations for Challenge next year. And, and full steam ahead. I mean, it's not going to change fundamentally what I do on a daily basis. It's going to change my commute. Instead of getting in the truck and driving 3 miles, I'm going to get on my Nikes, my Under Armours, and walk, 40 feet, right? So that's great.
And even when it comes to the series itself, like every series promoter is driving 500,000, 1,500 miles, whatever it is, to a race, right? It's not like everybody's got to drive if you're going to be on a coastal program. So
how many USPKS races happen in Springfield?
It's it. No.
How many Cruiser races happen in Temecula?
Yeah,
right. Like we do, and we move on. So
how many Florida winter tours are in Utah?
I don't know.
Well, Garrett lives in Utah.
I get it. Enough. Except they do have an office in Orlando.
They do.
Yeah,
no.
No.
Sorry. Ursula is more important, but she's actually in North Carolina now.
For sure. But the point is well made, right? That
So now that you're in the Northwest, there's a lot of road racing up there. Are you going to do a little more road racing?
Me road racing? Am I going to do any racing?
Well, I figured road racing's easier. It was, you did a couple at Las Vegas, right?
I'm not very aerodynamic.
No.
I can't believe I'm saying this. I actually talked to Kathy about getting in the cart a little bit this year if I could. So we'll see.
See, there it is right there.
Well, because her garden has a lot of fruit and vegetables in it up there, so it means I'm going to have to. When you work on your house, you don't have to go to Taco Bell 3 times a week. So
yep.
Hopefully, well, David, although you still go to McDonald's, I'm sure.
No.
Yeah,
Rob, I got a new grill. I'm grilling out all the time.
Yeah, what happened to the grill, Rob? You never brought that grill to me.
I know. I'm just going to sell it. We'll get a new one. Too far of a drive. All right, folks. June 24th, 25, 26. Pat's Acres. What do you want? What else do you want to talk about?
When are you coming back here to move the motorhome?
I think I'm back down there on Sunday. Actually, Saturday. I'll watch the 500 there.
Just drive the motorhome up the pads.
It's not a motorhome. It's a trailer. It's a fifth wheel.
Tow it.
Motorhome's gone. Yeah, I don't have a truck.
How did it get there?
Magic.
It was there when I bought it. There you go. All right, let's wrap this thing up. We're 45 minutes in. Any final words, Andy? Registration's open for the event. Pat's Acres. We're like 5 weeks away, like you said. And you throw the names out there, right? Awesome to see. Rawlson Performance is going to be there. GFC Karting is going to be there. There's going to be a big shift. I got a feeling there's going to be a big shifter contingent because there are a bunch of shifter kart racers in the Pacific Northwest. They got to come down to this battle for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, hopefully, like you said, we talk about RPG, we talk about GFC. Austin Elliott from Speed Sense been a great supporter. Ron White's trying to put something together. Rob Suarez from Illuminos came. So hopefully, if we get those teams, obviously, which we will, and then, you get Italian Motors and you get Midnight Motors and you get a few others, Word Racing, who's up there,
Yep, Randy Word.
Homebo. I mean, there's a lot of different groups, right? And we don't need, my program, right? We don't need 5 teams of 20. We need 20 teams of 5. I mean, that's what I love to see, right? If you remember, well, you weren't there last year, but obviously last year, like literally 40% of the people, I felt like, probably I'm overestimating, but camped at the track. So it was great. The day was over and we had music and you smelled barbecues and there were, beers and, it was just a great, great time. That's, there's no pit spot fee unless you want to pit up in the upper area where you got to talk to Chris Egger. Pit in the back, no pit spot fee, no camping fee. Just come hang out, race and have a good time.
The atmosphere, man. It's so cool there.
And as you know, June 24th and 25th, it's light till 10 p.m. in Portland.
I never thought about that.
It's ridiculous. So I don't know. I'm just excited. As you know, we all write our press releases, but the longer we do this, like certain races don't excite us as much as others, right? It's like, okay, I'm going. I still can't wait to get to the racetrack. But I've been going here for how many years? We're just going to go. But this is one of those where like it fires me up, it pumps me up.
Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to getting back for sure. Should be good.
For sure.
Again, last call. June 25, 24, 25, 26. We're camping. We're going to have a good time. Pat's Acres, California ROK Championship. David, last words or what? Last words?
No, I'm ready to go. Again, missed the challenge family. Ready to see all the staff, including Andy and everybody else up there.
Andy, thank you so much.
Eric/Run.
There we go.
Run.
Wow.
Because Eric's not moving with me to Boise, so Eric will be doing something else with his life. So
wow.
Is Eric/Run.
So it's kind of like a bachelor party for going away.
Don't
Look,
talk about
Eric has enough trouble getting through the weekends. We don't need any more pressure.
Yeah, no more motivation needed. Andy, thank you so much for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
But guys, thank you so much.
Hang in the studio. We'll talk to you later. Well, David, there it is. You're going to get your first trip to Pat's Acres Racing Complex end of June. Should be a ton of fun. The minute, trust me, the minute you pull off the Art Road and roll back to drive through the thing to get it, you're going to be in love with that place. You are going to fall in love with it the minute you pull in.
I'm going to feel even better when I'm racing 206.
Yeah, plant that seed.
Because again, if it's not part of the regular program, we can race in it. We could always throw somebody on the mic, again, maybe a little warm up early in the morning and then maybe some racing later on or something like that. Again, kind of just like a thrown together race.
Everybody wants to run 206. Sign up. That's it. Fax that to Andy.
Fax it.
Scan an email. All right, folks. David, thank you so much, guys. This is another primetime edition. It's 8:49 here, East Coast. We're looking forward to this event. I think a lot of people are. The survey came out. People wanted to go to Pat's. They did it last year. People are coming back. Teams are going to be there. The atmosphere is going to be amazing. We're thrilled. Andy said to us, hey, listen, we want you guys there. We want EK in there to cover it. Full trackside live coverage. I'll be back on the mic at the track. First time I was there was 1999, Superkarts USA Pro Moto Tour. And like you said, who won that first race? Trevor McAllister.
McAllister did, yeah. On
a leading edge, Track Magic won the race. Yeah. And Tucker, like you said, Nick Tucker was a winner in the ADCC. I can't remember who won senior. I don't know. It was amazing stuff. ADCC senior back in the day. I had to pull the magazine out back here.
Yeah, that's again before my time. I don't have that that event memorized in my head.
There you go. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us here on Facebook and or YouTube. We appreciate it. Of course, you'll be able to get it on YouTube through our channel. But again, another great edition of Face to Face. David's phone's already ringing. Somebody's giving him a call. Thanks again, folks. I appreciate it. On behalf of David Cole, my name is Rob Howden. Bye for now.